The Galactic Council chamber was never quiet. Usually, the Great Hall buzzed with voices from 100 different worlds, each shouting for their own interests, each fighting to be heard. But today, when the hologram appeared, silence spread like a shadow. In the center of the chamber, a blue and white planet spun slowly, projected in chilling detail. Oceans glimmered. Clouds curled across continents. A small world, fragile, almost ordinary, it was Earth. The Valari elder rose from his seat. His skin was pale and wrinkled, his eyes black as glass. He leaned on his staff, but his voice carried through the vast chamber like a blade. "Do not go near this world," he said. "Do not send ships. Do not send probes. Do not invite death to your doors." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Many younger races frowned. Some even laughed. A core delegate, scales glittering with arrogance, sneered openly. "You call this little world dangerous? It is nothing but rock and water, a death world crawling with fragile apes. How can such a place frighten the oldest races in the galaxy?" The Valari elder's gaze sharpened. His voice shook, but not with weakness. "With memory, because we tried," he said, "and we failed." The chamber froze. Gasps filled the air. Some delegates whispered in shock, others scoffed in disbelief. A massive figure from the TSR Dominion leaned forward, his voice a growl. "You, the Valari. You claim you could not crush such a primitive race?" The elder's hand trembled as he raised his staff. "You cannot crush what refuses to die." Before the council could answer, the hologram changed. The blue earth faded, replaced by a storm of light. Alien fleets appeared, ancient Valari warships with weapons that could break moons. They filled Earth's skies, raining fire onto oceans and mountains. But something was wrong. One by one, the Valari ships exploded. Their great dreadnoughts tore apart. Fragments of wreckage burned in orbit. And through the chaos, smaller ships rose from the shadows of Earth, ships no one believed the humans had built. Black-hulled warships, jagged and merciless. Cutting through the invaders with impossible precision, the chamber erupted in shouts. "Impossible," cried one delegate. "Fabrication," screamed another, but the hologram played on. On the surface, human soldiers marched through ruined cities, their armor dark, their weapons forged from broken alien metal. Their faces were grim, their eyes filled with fire. They did not fight with fear. They fought with purpose. The elder's voice echoed over the images. "We thought they were weak. We thought they would kneel. Instead, they became something else. Something more dangerous than we ever imagined." The hologram flickered again. This time, it showed the face of a human. Young. Calm. Staring directly into the lens with a steady gaze. No words. Only silence. That silence chilled the chamber more than the battle itself. The core delegate slammed his clawed hand against the table. "Lies. If they were so strong, why do they not rule the stars? Why hide on their little rock?" The Valari elder turned toward him, voice like thunder. "Because they do not need to rule. They only need to wait." Before the chamber could explode in argument, the hologram glitched. A static buzz filled the hall. For a moment, the delegates thought the projection had failed. But then a voice. A human voice. Calm, cold, deep. "You wonder why the Valari fear us," the voice said. "You wonder why your fleets vanish near our borders? You wonder why Earth remains untouched." Every alien froze. The voice was not part of the Valari's display. It was something else. Something that had forced its way into the heart of the council. "We do not seek conquest," the voice continued. "We do not seek empires. But do not mistake our silence for weakness." The hologram shifted once more. This time, it was not Earth, not the Valari fleet. It was a shadow, a massive shape drifted across the stars. Its edges jagged, its size impossible to measure. A warship? No. An armada of warships, silhouettes, stretching further than the... I could follow. The chamber shook with gasps and cries. The voice grew colder. "Earth is not unguarded. Humanity has never been alone. And if you come too close, the shadowed fleet ignited, weapons glowing like newborn suns. You will see what we truly keep hidden. The hologram snapped to black. The council chamber was silent again, but it was not the calm of order. It was the silence of fear. The Valari elder gripped his staff tightly. His voice was low, heavy with warning. You wanted truth, he said. Now you must decide. Do you leave Earth in peace, or do you wake the storm? The lights dimmed. The delegates sat frozen, and as they stared into the darkness, one thought echoed in every mind. What else is humanity hiding? The council chamber did not recover quickly. Long after the human voice had vanished, silence still clung to the air like a heavy chain. Every delegate could feel it, the unease that spread deeper than politics. Deeper than pride, but outside the chamber, across the galaxy. The whispers had already begun. In the taverns of merchant worlds, smugglers leaned across dim tables. Voices low as they told stories of ships that never returned from the Sol system. Entire convoys gone without a trace, their signals vanishing near Jupiter. Some claimed to have seen shadows among the stars, massive warships drifting in silence, watching on mining colonies. Workers spoke of patrols lost in the asteroid belts near Mars. No wreckage, no survivors, only silence. And among the Ilary scholars, forbidden archives were opened once more. In them lay battle records long hidden, fleets destroyed, commanders erased, wars never spoken of again. Always the same name on every report. Earth.1 scholar whispered to her students, "Do not mistake their quiet for weakness. Humanity does not fight often, but when it does, history itself burns." Back in the council chamber, the arguments grew louder. The core delegate shouted, his claws scratching the table. Tricks. Nothing more than shadows and lies. If humanity was so strong, we would already kneel beneath their fleets. But the Valari elder shook his head slowly. You do not understand. They are patient. They do not conquer. They wait. The younger races shifted uneasily. They had no memories of the old wars. For them, Earth was only a rumor. Yet rumors had power, and the more they whispered, the more the fear spread. Then, without warning, the chamber lights flickered again. Every delegate froze, afraid of another intrusion. The holographic table sparked, and once again static filled the hall. But this time was not a voice, it was an image. The chamber filled with a battlefield. Alien warships shattered, burning as they fell into planetary atmospheres. Towers of smoke rose from ruined cities. The skies lit with fire, and in the midst of it all, human soldiers advanced through the wreckage. Their armor was black and silver. Their weapons glowed with deadly light. Their faces were young, but their eyes carried the calm of predators. The core delegate whispered, his voice thin. They look like war itself." The Valari elder bowed his head. "They are survivors. Every breath they take, every step they walk, it is because their world taught them to endure what would kill us all." The image shifted again. Human fleets, jagged warships rising from shadows, their engines glowing with strange light. They moved with perfect discipline, cutting through enemies 10 times their number, and then the battlefield dissolved into blackness. Only words remained, burning across the chamber in glowing white letters. We never attack first. The words pulsed once, searing into every mind. Before the delegates could react, more text appeared, but if you come for Earth, the lights flickered. Sparks showered from the walls. The words glowed brighter, brighter, until they nearly blinded the chamber. You will never rise again. Then everything went dark. For a long moment, no one moved. The chamber was silent except for the sound of shallow breathing. When the lights finally returned, the counselors stared at one another, shaken. Some tried to speak, but their voices cracked. Others sat motionless, their eyes wide with dread. And then, at the edge of the holographic table, a signal pulsed. Not words. Not a voice coordinates. The Valari elder leaned closer. His face turned pale. The numbers pointed to a single place. Jupiter, he whispered. They are not hiding only on Earth. They're fleets. They wait beyond the storm. The chamber fell into stunned silence. Every leader felt the same chill, the same unspoken truth. If humanity had hidden ships beyond Jupiter, then Earth was not a fragile world at all. It was a fortress. And as the coordinates glowed in the air, a single question burned through every mind in the chamber. What would they find if they looked? A single human ship turned toward them. Its cannons powered up, not to destroy, but to send out a pulse of raw energy. The probes froze instantly, every system overwhelmed, and in the council chamber, the holographic table flared to life. The delegates gasped. The feat had been taken over not by their own systems, but by humanity. A man appeared in the center of the chamber. He was tall, armored in black and silver, his face uncovered. His eyes were sharp, steady, and cold. He looked at each alien leader in silence, and the silence cut deeper than words. When he finally spoke, his voice was calm, measured and terrifying. You wanted to know why the Valari fear us, he said. You wanted to know why your fleets vanish in our skies? You wanted to know why Earth is left untouched? The council chamber was silent. Not even the core delegate dared to speak. The human continued. We are not your enemy. We do not seek your worlds. We do not hunger for your thrones. But understand this. We were forged on a death world. Our storms kill. Our seas drown. Our lands burn and freeze. And still, we thrived. The Valari elder lowered his head. The words were the same he had heard long ago when his people first clashed with humanity. The human's gaze hardened. We've built fleets not to conquer, but to survive. Because one day, we knew someone like you would come again. The hologram shifted. The council saw it now, the Jupiter fleet in full formation. Hundreds of ships aligned with perfect precision, weapons glowing with restrained firepower. Their sheer size dwarfed even the greatest alien dreadnoughts. And then the human smiled. Just faintly. This, he said, is only our first line. Gasps filled the chamber. Some shouted in fear. Others shook their heads in disbelief. The core delegate finally found his voice, though it trembled. Lies, tricks. If this is true, then show us more. Reveal all of your power. The human's eyes glowed faintly in the holographic light. He leaned forward, his words sharp as a blade. You want more? Be careful what you wish for. The hologram flickered. For a single instant, the council saw something behind the Jupiter fleet. Not a ship, not a station. A shadow so vast, it stretched across stars, and then the feed cut to black. The delegates were left staring. Into the empty hologram, their hearts pounding, the Valari elder whispered into the silence. We have only seen what they allow us to see. There is more. Much more. The human envoy's final words echoed in every mind. This is only our first line. The words still echoed in the council chamber. This is only our first line, delegates whispered nervously. Some shouted that it was bluff. Others demanded answers, but no one could deny what they had seen. The fleet around Jupiter was real. The envoy was real. Humanity was no myth. The core delegate slammed the table with his claw. Illusion? Trickery? They frighten us with shadows. They cannot hide such power across the stars. But before anyone could respond, more signals flooded into the chamber. Across the galaxy, patrol ships and probes were transmitting emergency reports. Their footage flickered across the walls, more horrifying than the last. In the asteroid belt near Mars, black holes unfolded from the rocks themselves, ships camouflaged to look like drifting stone. Massive cannons extended, their barrels glowing with restrained power in Saturn's rings. Shadows shimmered as entire fleets uncloaked, their hulls blending with the frozen debris. Thousands of ships rose in perfect silence, forming formations like an army waking from hibernation. Even Pluto was not safe. Beneath its frozen crust, vast hangars opened, revealing battle stations that pulsed with hidden energy. The chamber erupted in panic. Alien leaders shouted over one another, some demanding war, others crying for peace, but none of them could deny the truth. Humanity had built fleets everywhere, and no one had seen it until now. Then came the worst report. At the edge of the Orion Arm, an alien patrol stumbled across something vast. At first, they thought it was a dead moon, drifting in silence. But when they approached, the moon came alive. Panels unfolded. Engines roared. Weapons bristled. It was not a moon. It was a fortress ship the size of a planet. The chamber shook with fear. Some delegates buried their faces in their hands. Others shouted for retreat from human space. The Valari Elder's voice cut through the chaos. This is why we warned you. Humanity never stopped building. While you fought wars for pride, they prepared. They watched. They waited. And then, the chamber lights dimmed again. A hologram flared to life, not from the Council's systems, but from the humans themselves. The envoy stood once more, calm as stone. Behind him, the image of fleets filled the chamber, thousands of ships aligned with terrifying precision. Their hulls marked with the same emblem, a burning star inside a circle. You have seen a fraction of our strength, the envoy said. His voice was calm, but every word carried the weight of thunder. You believed silence meant weakness. You believed Earth was unguarded. You were wrong. The hologram zoomed in. Human soldiers stood aboard the fortress ship, their armor black and silver, their faces lit by the glow of war. They stood in ranks without fear, without hesitation. This is not a war fleet, the envoy continued. This is a promise. We will not strike first. But if you come for us, the fleets ignited in the hologram, their weapons glowing brighter than suns, we will erase you. The image collapsed into black. The silence in the chamber was unbearable. No one dared to speak then. With a hiss, the great doors of the council chamber opened. Every alien turned. A figure stepped inside. It was no
hologram.
It was a human. He walked calmly into the heart of the Galactic Council, armored in black, eyes sharp as fire. His presence filled the room like a storm. Every delegate froze, unable to move. The human envoy spoke only 3 words. Now we talk. The chamber erupted in shock. Some shouted in panic. Others shrank back in terror. The Valari Elder closed his eyes. He knew this moment had been inevitable. For the first time in history, humanity had walked into the council itself, and no one knew what would happen next. The chamber was frozen. A human had walked through the council's doors. Not a projection. Not a signal, but flesh and blood. His armor gleamed black and silver under the lights, his face calm, his eyes sharp. He carried no weapon, but his presence struck harder than any blade. The delegates whispered in panic. Some shouted for guards, but none dared move. The Valari Elder rose slowly, his staff trembling in his hands. Sit, the Elder commanded, though his voice shook. It is time you all hear the truth. The truth we buried. The truth we feared. The human envoy did not interrupt. He stood in silence, watching as the Elder's words filled the chamber. Eons ago, the Valari Elder began. My people ruled the stars. We thought ourselves invincible. We saw Earth as a prize, a death world that would bend before our fleets. The holographic table flickered, and images appeared. Ancient Valari dreadnoughts filled the skies above Earth, their weapons blotting out the sun. Fire rained down, oceans boiled, mountains cracked. We struck them with fire, the Elder said. We thought they would fall quickly, but the hologram shifted. Amid the ruins, human soldiers rose. Their cities burned, yet they marched. Their weapons were crude at first, scavenged from the wreckage of Valari machines. But with every battle, those weapons changed. Sharper, deadlier, stronger. They learned from every defeat, the Elder whispered. Every strike we made only forged them harder. The delegates watched in horror as the images showed. Valari soldiers falling to ambushes. Their war machines turned against them. Their dreadnoughts torn apart by human-built weapons. The core delegate shook his head violently. Lies. No primitives could do this. But the Elder's voice cracked with fury. I was there. I watched our fleets burn. The hologram shifted again. A new image filled the chamber, one that silenced every voice. A colossal human weapon, larger than a city, floated in orbit. It pulsed with power brighter than stars. Valari fleets rushed to attack and vanished. Not destroyed, erased, gone, as if they had never existed. The chamber erupted in screams. Impossible. No technology can erase. This cannot be real. The Elder's eyes glistened with memory. We called it the erasure engine. A weapon that bends the fabric of space and time. A weapon that chooses which fleets remain in memory, and which are forgotten forever. The delegates stared in terror. Some clutched their chests. Others sat frozen, unable to breathe. The human envoy remained silent. His expression unreadable, the Ilary scholar whispered, her voice breaking. A weapon that can erase history itself. The Valari elder nodded. We surrendered. Not because we were beaten in battle, but because we knew they could erase us completely. Humanity spared us. They told us only one thing: we never attack first. But if you come again, we will finish what we began. The hologram faded. The chamber was silent. Every delegate trembling with fear. The core delegate tried to speak, his voice weak. You mean, they still have it? This erasure engine? All eyes turned to the human envoy. His calm gaze swept across the chamber. Then, for the first time, he spoke. 5 words. We never gave it up. The chamber erupted in chaos. Shouts, screams, desperate voices colliding. Some begged for peace. Others demanded immediate war. Fear spread like fire, but before order could return, alarms blared through the council. A live feed flashed across the chamber walls. An alien fleet, vast, arrogant, and armed for invasion, was already moving toward Earth. The human envoy's eyes narrowed. His voice cut through the chaos like thunder. Then you will see. The chamber froze. The feed showed alien dreadnoughts pushing into Sol, their weapons charged, their commanders laughing at the thought of conquering a Deathworld. But the Valari elder's voice was grim as stone. They have no idea what they are about to face. The alarms rang through the Galactic Council chamber. The walls lit with images of an alien armada entering the Sol system. Thousands of dreadnoughts, bristling with weapons, cut through space like a tide of fire. The delegates erupted in panic. Some shouted for retreat, others for negotiations, but it was too late. The invaders were already closing on Earth. The human envoy did not move. He stood calmly at the center of the chamber, his black and silver armor glowing faintly under the lights. His eyes never left the hologram of the approaching fleet. You never listen, he said, his voice low and steady. You mistake patience for weakness. You mistake silence for fear. The Valari elder bowed his head, whispering as if to himself. They are about to learn. The hologram shifted. Cameras hidden in Sol showed the alien armada pressing forward. Earth looked small against the endless wall of ships. The core delegate leaned forward, his scales glittering with false triumph. This is the end of your myth. Let the galaxy see Earth burn. But the envoy turned his gaze toward him, eyes cold as steel. You will see Earth burn only if you look at its skies unprepared. The chamber lights dimmed again. New images filled the hall. At first, the alien fleet seemed unchallenged. Human ships rose from the moon, from orbit, from the oceans, but they were few compared to the invaders. The alien commanders laughed, mocking the primitive Deathworld defense. Then the planet itself awoke. The dark side of the moon glowed as massive hangars opened, unleashing hidden fleets cloaked for centuries. From Earth's oceans, gigantic submarines surfaced. Then, lifted into the sky, transforming into starships armed with plasma cannons and railguns. Orbiting satellites unfolded, their frames reshaping into colossal gun platforms. From deep underground, launch silos opened, firing streams of drones into space, each glowing with deadly intent. The council gasped. Earth was not unguarded. Earth was a fortress. The envoy's voice cut through the silence. This is our doctrine. We never attack first. But when you bring war to our home, we end it. The alien fleet fired first. Beams of plasma cut through space, slamming into Earth's defenses. Entire human squadrons disappeared in the opening volley. The invaders roared with triumph, but their triumph was short. Railguns thundered from orbit, their projectiles tearing alien dreadnoughts in half. Plasma cannons fired from hidden stations, slicing through enemy cruisers like paper. Swarms of drones tore into formations, overwhelming even the strongest shields. The battle turned chaotic. Alien commanders screamed into coms, their fleet scattering under the storm. Earth's defenses fought with impossible precision, every strike calculated, every volley devastating. Still, the invaders pressed forward. Their numbers were vast, their arrogance unbroken. They forced the human defenses back, closer to Earth itself. In the council chamber, tension rose. Some delegates began to hope the invaders would succeed. Others prayed for humanity to endure. The Valari elder closed his eyes. "Not yet," he whispered. "They haven't shown it yet." Then the stars behind Earth rippled. Space twisted, bending like water. A shadow emerged, larger than mountains, larger than continents. At first, the invaders thought it was a moon, but then its hull lit with rows of weapons. Its engines roared like thunder. The chamber shook as its name blazed across its side in glowing letters. The Resolute, humanity's flagship. The delegates gasped as the ship dwarfed even the greatest alien dreadnoughts. Its main cannon pulsed with white-hot energy, brighter than a sun. The human envoy raised his hand. His voice was calm, final. "You asked for proof. You wanted to see what we hide." On the feed, the Resolute fired. The beam tore through the alien fleet, splitting a dreadnought in half, vaporizing ships caught in its path. Shockwaves rippled through the void, scattering the invaders like insects before a storm. The council chamber was filled with stunned silence, and then, just as the alien fleet faltered, the stars shifted again. Behind the Resolute, more shadows appeared. Dozens, hundreds, each as massive. Each awakening from the void, the envoy's eyes glowed faintly in the dark. His words chilled the chamber. "You have seen one, but Earth does not stand alone. This is our Deathworld Fleet." The chamber exploded in cries of fear. Some shouted in disbelief, others whispered prayers. The Valari elder sank into his chair, his voice trembling. The legends. They were true. But before the council could recover, a new signal cut through the chamber. Not from Earth, not from the humans, something older, something darker. A fleet unlike any other stirred at the edge of the galaxy. The void above Earth burned with fire. Alien dreadnoughts swarmed like locusts, their weapons pounding against humanity's defenses. The skies glowed with plasma storms, railgun fire, and shattered wreckage drifting like ash across the stars. The Galactic Council. Chamber trembled as the live feed displayed the chaos. Delegates clutched their seats, their faces pale, their voices shaking. Some whispered prayers, others shouted in panic. But through it all, the human envoy stood calm, his arms folded behind his back, eyes cold and sharp. "You wanted to see our truth," he said softly. "Now you will." On the feed, the Resolute advanced. The colossal flagship dwarfed every alien vessel around it, its weapons glowing white-hot, its shields pulsing like the breath of a giant. The first volley from its main cannon lit the void. An alien dreadnought shattered in an instant, its wreckage scattering into nothing. The invaders faltered. Their formations broke. Their commanders shouted desperate orders. But fear spread faster than discipline. And then the shadows behind the Resolute began to move, one by one. Titanic silhouettes emerged from the dark. Massive warships unfolded, their hulls bristling with weapons, their engines igniting like newborn suns. The chamber gasped. The fleet was endless. This, the Valari elder whispered, his voice trembling, is the Deathworld Fleet. The human envoy's voice echoed over the chamber. "You mocked us as Deathworlders. You were right. Every storm, every ocean, every mountain that tried to kill us forged this. The fleet roared to life. Thousands of ships surged forward in perfect formation, their weapons blazing. Drones swarmed like fireflies, cutting through alien lines. Human squadrons moved with terrifying precision, tearing apart ships 10 times their size. The alien invaders broke. Some tried to flee. Others fought to the last, but none could withstand the storm. The Deathworld Fleet advanced without mercy, without hesitation, without pause. The chamber filled with cries. Delegates wept openly. Some begged for the battlefield to be cut, unable to watch the slaughter. But the envoy did not look away. His voice was steady, final. This is not conquest. This is survival. This is our doctrine. On the feed, the alien armada collapsed. Ships exploded, one after another. Whole formations vanished in seconds. What had been a proud fleet only hours ago was now wreckage burning in Earth's orbit. The core delegate trembled, his arrogance shattered. No empire, no fleet in history, could stand against this. The Valari elder closed his eyes. That is why we fear them. That is why we warned you. The council sat in silence, their fear now beyond doubt. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was not myth. Humanity was power beyond measure. But just as the chamber began to settle, a new signal cut through the feed. The image of Earth and its victorious fleets vanished. A new starfield appeared. Cold, distant ships began to move in the dark. At first, the delegates thought they were ruins. Vast, twisted shapes of black metal, spires that looked like dead worlds drifting through the void. But then the spires lit with sickly green light. Engines roared. Weapons flared. The Valari elder's eyes went wide with terror. His voice cracked. No, it cannot be. The Alari scholar gasped. The old ones? They are awake. Whispers spread like fire. Every delegate had heard the legends. An empire older than all others, silent for eons waiting. And now, stirred by humanity's rise, they had returned. The chamber fell into panic. If humanity's Deathworld fleet was unstoppable, then what were these monsters that even the Valari feared to name? The envoy turned his gaze toward the council. His voice was calm, but colder than ever. You thought humanity was the end of your fears, he said. But the old ones are coming, and now you will learn why we prepared. The chamber erupted with cries. But none could drown out the final image on the feed, the old one's armada stretching across the stars. Endless and unbroken. The chamber was chaos. Delegates shouted over one another, their voices shaking with panic. The image of the old one's armada stretched across the stars. Vast and endless, each ship a nightmare of black metal and green fire. It was not a fleet. It was a plague made of steel and hunger. The Valari elder trembled. We warned you of Earth, but this... His voice cracked. This is why we never spoke of them. The old ones devour galaxies. Not even humanity can, he stopped. Because the human envoy had not moved, the man stood tall in his black and silver armor. His eyes calm, his expression carved in stone. He watched the feed with no fear. Only patience. Finally, he spoke. You fear them, he said. So do we. The chamber froze. No one expected those words. But fear is not surrender, the envoy continued. Fear is preparation. The hologram shifted again. The image zoomed in on the Sol system. Earth's fleets regrouped, the Deathworld fleet tightening into formation. The Resolute glowed brighter, its weapons charged. Around it, other flagships awakened, their hulls burning with the heat of battle. But the feed kept pulling back. Past Earth, past Jupiter, past the edge of the system, and then the stars themselves began to change. A ring of light appeared around. Sol, thin lines at first, then massive structures glowing brighter and brighter. Until the truth struck the chamber like thunder, it was not a ring. It was a Dyson Fortress, a megastructure built around. Earth's sun gasps echoed. Some delegates collapsed into their seats. Others shouted in disbelief. But the image did not lie. The fortress pulsed with power, channels of energy glowing like rivers of fire. Weapons larger than planets aligned in silence. Every panel, every cannon, every array pointed outward, toward the approaching Old Ones. "This," the envoy said, his voice calm but carrying like thunder, "is our final doctrine." The hologram zoomed in on the humans inside the fortress. Soldiers stood in black armor, their eyes lit by the glow of the star itself. Engineers monitored consoles, their hands steady as they guided rivers of stellar energy into the weapons. "We never sought to rule your empires," the envoy continued. "We never cared for your thrones or your crowns. We cared only for this survival." The feed shifted again. The Old One's fleet appeared at the edge of the Dyson Fortress. Their spires glowed with sickly light, their weapons charging to devour the system. The galaxy held its breath, and then the fortress fired. A single beam of energy, brighter than a star, tore through the void. It struck the Old One's lead ship. The vessel did not explode. It simply vanished, erased from existence, as if it had never been. The council erupted in gasps. "The erasure engine," whispered the Valari elder. "They still have it." More beams fired. Dozens of Old One ships vanished in silence, erased from the galaxy's memory. The Deathworld Fleet surged forward behind the fortress. Cutting through the survivors with merciless precision, the envoy's gaze swept across the terrified council. "You called us apes. You called us fragile. You called us weak. But we endured storms, famine, ice, and fire. We endured you, and we endured them." The chamber walls shook with the sound of the fortress firing again, star burning like a second sun. The Old One's armada faltered. For the first time in eons, they began to retreat. The envoy's voice dropped to a whisper that echoed through every soul in the chamber. "We are humanity. We do not start wars, but we end them." The final image filled the chamber, Earth glowing blue. Surrounded by its fleets, the Resolute at the front, and the Dyson Fortress burning behind it like a god's crown. The chamber was silent. Not one alien dared to speak. And across the galaxy, new truth spread in whispers that would never be forgotten. Humanity was not to be conquered. Humanity was not to be provoked. Humanity was the guardian of the final dawn, the end.